And we are live. Imagine that. It is September 1st, 2021, and it's for some reason, growing up in the Soviet Union, September 1st is always a big deal because that is the date when kids go back to school. That's when summer vacation is officially over. So that is something that I always remembered without any fondness. In a weird way, with the things that are happening now with the whole Afghanistan business and stuff like that, it also feels a little bit like we are in the new world. My phone is beeping. Stop that. I've already talked a little bit about the whole Afghanistan business. For those of you who have not run into this yet, so where my website is on the locals platform, darklordofoptics.locals.com or just darklordofoptics.com, they finally enabled the live casting capability. So I have been, as I have time, doing short 15 to 20 minute live casts on whatever was occupying my mind at the time. And a nice thing there, I do not have to be concerned with what I say, so I don't get banned, so the live cast doesn't get killed. I can show a gun in my hand and all sorts of other things that I cannot do on YouTube and Facebook all that much. So if you are not subscribed on my website, please go and subscribe, darklordofoptics.com. I'm gonna put it up on the bottom. The way it works the way it works there is that the way I do the live casts, most of them are not for paying supporters only. They are for anyone who is subscribed on the website, which is free. If you do want to comment and ask stuff like that, there is a paywall. I kind of like it, aside from the fact that I get paid. The bigger thing, arguably, is that it keeps all the trolls and the idiots out, although thankfully we don't have too many of them here. But as the channel gets bigger, I assume we will see more. The topic du jour that's occupied my mind, at least outside of politics and world events, is Rimfire optics. And let's see, I have a comment. I hope it's somebody telling me they can hear me. Oh, Jared goes, "Don't kill the live cast." So Jared, just to be clear, I'm not going to stop live casting on YouTube. What happens is that there are certain things that I want to cover that I can't easily cover with YouTube's restrictions, and those are going to be done on locals. Occasional quick things will be done on locals that pertain to politics and stuff like that. But these long, full-length live casts with Q&A, etc., on YouTube and Facebook are going to continue. I'm not going anywhere unless they kick me out. All right, Mr. Olive Drabmind in Australia can hear me loud and clear. Excellent. Okay, Doug, howdy. Good to see you here, sir. Well, good to know you are here. Jared, of course, but don't get your account in trouble. I am trying not to get my account in trouble, but here is the gist of it. I'm a gun writer, and I, to a significant degree, talk about gun-related optics, and I can't show you any of this stuff on a gun while taking questions, while doing this in an interactive manner that I really enjoy. So. Okay, Jared, question about F3R machine mounts. So I've seen a couple. I have not used them. I've seen them. They look to be well made, but I don't have any real personal experience. They are well regarded. Mr. Charger Guy, a little late to the show and may have missed it. Where can we find your political and world event stuff? You didn't miss it. I'm starting late today. I had some family events, and I cannot do a live cast next week. It's the start of Jewish high holidays, so I figured better late than never. And I do have a topic in mind I wanted to discuss, so you didn't miss anything. It's just starting out. The political stuff, however, is going on my website. I have a website. It's kind of a blog and video format called on a platform called locals.com. It's darklordofoptics.locals.com. And I'm moving all my political stuff there because I can talk about politics there without any fear of repercussions or my channel getting killed. So the YouTube channel is going to be more exclusively focused on optics. To some degree on guns, but guns will be only in pre-prepared videos. While on locals, I can, for example, go to the range and do a live cast with a gun in hand, showing what I'm doing, what I like and what I don't like. I cannot do that on YouTube, right? So it's going to be a little back and forth. What I would recommend is go on locals, create an account, and subscribe. And then whenever I am about to do something, yeah, you'll get notifications. And Mr. Charger Guys in Canada, awesome. Thank you for joining, sir. All right, so I'm going to do my usual spiel on Rimfire optics. It's not going to be too long. There's not that much there. There are a couple of things I wanted to point out. And I assume the comments are going to accumulate, and then I'll start addressing them one by one as I go along. Okay. All right. Rimfire optics. It's an interesting thing, right? So when I go on a website of a prominent optics retailer and do a search on Rimfire optics or Rimfire scopes, most of what comes up is, let's say, not the highest end stuff. A bunch of stuff in the $60 to $150 range with an occasional $400, $300 loophole thrown in and all that sort of stuff. However, to me, the Rimfire world has changed, is changing quite substantially. So when we talk about Rimfire optics, we kind of have to segregate what we mean. And I have a little bit of all of these. I like Rimfire guns. I shoot them quite a lot. There is the old stuff, what we always used to think of Rimfire optics. So what is that? Oh, by the way, the Guess the Boost contest is live. And if you can figure out what this is, I will send you a t-shirt. I also have a political sort of sticker that I'll throw in a box. My first drink of the evening, I guess I'll toast to the 13th serviceman who died in Iraq because our president is an imbecile. With that out of the way, Rimfire scopes. So how does this work? There are the typical Rimfires. As an example, think of the original 1022, and there's a million of them beat up and shooting fine all over the place that I used to dispatch rats and squirrels at fairly close distances. Think of an occasional Marlin 39A, some lever gun. Think of the chipmunks, the little kids' guns. What kind of scope do you put on them? Do you put a scope on them? Do you just shoot with iron sights? Well, you know, I can make a pretty good argument that kids should start with iron sights. Although I didn't exactly practice that with my kids. It's hard for me to resist putting a scope on everything. But there is not every time, significant amount of time, I see somebody at a range or somewhere with a Rimfire rifle. They have the shittiest scope known to man on there. It's kind of like looking through a piece of toilet paper with saran wrap draped across it. It's pretty impressive. And then when I strike up a conversation and we chat a little bit, and what kind of stuff do you shoot? What do you enjoy shooting the most? And half the time it turns out he's got a nice AR somewhere with an ACOG, $1,000, and some sort of a reasonably accurate bolt gun, you know. And these are normal people who don't spend ridiculous amounts of money on guns, right? So some Savage, a Ruger that is accurate and all that. Bunch of people who have RPRs, have decent scopes in them, $1,000 scopes, and you know, something like that, and they never shoot them, right? And if you ask them, what do you actually shoot? it's always his 1022 or some Savage B series or something like that, bolt gun, or a Ruger a rimfire bolt gun, or whatever else. So the gun they shoot the most, they tend to have the shittiest scope on, and that is something that is a little bit mind-boggling to me, right? And when I raise the question, go, well, look, I mean, this is the gun you shoot the most. Really, like, this is where you pull the trigger the most. Wouldn't you want your better optic to be on this, because this is what you practice with, this is what you spend your most time with? Wouldn't it be nice? And most of them go like, huh, I didn't think about it from this angle. But we really should. Even for the inexpensive plinkers, we really should, if this is the gun you shoot a lot, maybe you should have a better scope on it, or at least something that's not absolute, piece of not absolute piece of manure. So that's kind of the overarching theme. So what is out there? I went and started looking at what is out there and what is available. And on the precision side of things, there's a million options, because the difference between a rimfire scope and a general purpose precision scope is comparatively minor. There are a couple of things to point out, but that's largely it. But on the lower size end of things, not necessarily lower cost, with smaller scopes and stuff you would put in a lightweight rifle that you would be shooting offhand a lot and all that, the options are really limited. So what these guns are traditionally, these are scopes, excuse me. Traditionally, these are smaller scopes, 2 to 7, 3 to 9, usually 32 millimeter objective, sometimes 40. And they typically have fixed parallax, and for rimfire guns, the parallax is set around 50 yards, which for general plinking, shooting offhand, like a walking varminter type thing, works fine. There's really not a ton of them. When I started looking, I was really surprised. There's generally a ever decreasing number of compact, high quality scopes out there, and even fewer of them are available with either sight focus for close distances for rimfire, or with fixed parallax at 50 or 60 yards. Okay. So that for me was kind of interesting, and I wonder if it is a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? People don't buy these kind of scopes for their rimfires because, well, they virtually don't exist, and manufacturers don't make them because people don't buy them, right? Well, unless you make it, nobody's going to buy it, and you can't buy it if nobody makes it, right? So I'm not entirely sure if this is truly driven by the market, or if this is just because nobody makes it. I remember, 15, 20 years ago, there were a few of these, it was a rimfire version of a Collis 2 to 7 by 36, which was a spectacular scope. I had one, I kind of regret selling it, but don't remember why I sold it, or maybe I traded it, don't recall. So who is in there making something decent? Well, if you're on a budget under $200, there is a Vortex Diamondback 2 to 7 by 35. They have a rimfire version. There are a few other options, not too many. You step up to $300-400, and you have the aging Leupold EFR scope. EFR stands for extended focus range, and that is basically adjustable objective rifle scopes, and they're okay. I'm not a huge fan, like I said. So for a lot of pardon me, my nose itches. For a lot of older Leupold designs, they basically just refresh them, change the cosmetics a little bit, throw them out again. It doesn't mean they're bad scopes, but they're not the most recent designs. The most recent designs out there. So I'm not entirely sure I'm all that interested in them, but options are. indeed really slim. So I started looking at some less traditional brands, and I started looking at some less traditional scopes. Now everything is sort of a budgety, up to $500-600. Almost decently made things are made in China, so if this is important for you, keep that in mind. But for example, one of the ones that I really enjoyed on the Rimfire was this guy. This is a US Optics TS12. It's a 3-12 by 44 scope. It's front focal plane, so the reticle gets a little bit thin on low power. I've talked about the scope before, but I liked it. It tracked true. It's unfortunate, doesn't have illumination. I would have preferred illumination. It's not terribly expensive. It is short, so it's very easy to mount on the Rimfire. And it's optically, it is surprisingly good. The turrets are perfectly adequate. It focuses down to, I think, 10 yards. Is it 10 or what is the closest? It looks like a little bit less than 10. I didn't shoot it that close. So for air guns and for rimfires, this kind of stuff starts looking appealing, right? It's a little bit bigger than a traditional rimfire plinker scope, but in absence of good options, this is worth looking at. Would I necessarily want a front focal plane scope for this application? No, not necessarily. But it doesn't hurt me all that much, and I do like to stretch the distance even with plinking rifles. Once we get away from the plinking world and start talking about real rimfire precision, think about guns used for NRL 22 or 22X, basically out 200 yards, out to 400 yards, and 400 yards. 22 long rifle has some serious drop. There's a ton of options. Just about, pardon me. Excuse me. There are just about any precision rifle scopes that focuses down to 25 yards on the highest magnification. Will work just fine. However, if I think a little bit about it and think what, to me, would be the ultimate rimfire scope, such a beast does not exist. Nobody makes it. So what would that be? It would be a scope with shorter eye relief. We are all conditioned to think that very long eye relief is a good thing. And if you have this scope set up on a rifle that really kicks, think lightweight 300 Magnum, yet you are dragging up a mountain with you, eye relief there is a good thing. For most other applications that do not involve high recoil, too much eye relief is not necessarily a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. You don't really need that much eye relief on the AR-15s. You don't need it on rimfires. Hell, on most modern competition rifles for PRS and NRL, stuff like that, which are fairly heavy and shoot a light kicking cartridge, you don't need a ton of eye relief there either. Long eye relief from an optical standpoint, from performance standpoint, actually offers a good number of disadvantages. And the most obvious one is the field of view, right? In order to maintain wide field of view at long eye relief, you need large diameter eyepiece. If you have a very large diameter eyepiece, it kind of steamrolls from there and the whole thing becomes big and bulky and everything. That is actually one of the reasons I like this little US Optics, because if you look at it, here's the, all right, let's see, where is my optimal eye relief? It's about there, a little bit less than the length of my finger, right? If we look at, let's say, I don't know, this is SWFA fixed 10 power scope. What's eye relief on there? Yeah, almost an inch longer. Look at the eyepiece diameters. Big difference. With a moderate eye relief, you can get really, really nice optical performance without a huge eyepiece and without a huge rifle scope. Equally importantly, when you have a short eye relief, the field of view gets wider, but in terms of how well you see through a rifle scope, what you get through the scope is very important. What you do not get from around the scope is equally important. The natural field of view of your eye is quite wide. So when I'm set up and looking through a scope, right, my eye sees through the scope and everything around it, right? And everything that your eye sees is the information that your brain has to process. So the more information you get from elsewhere, not through the scope, the worse is going to be the image fidelity of what you do get through the scope, because your brain is preoccupied trying to process everything else. That's one of the reasons, for example, if you take, let's say, a scope and let's say rifle scope and a binocular of the same magnification, 10 power, you look through a binocular, the field of view is huge and immersive and you really see well. It's not that expensive of an optic, comparatively speaking. You see better because a binocular has very short eye relief. Now, you can have eye relief that short on the rifle scope. A British company called MTC has already tried. I have one of them. It works on air gun. It's too short. You need basically at least 1.5 inches, maybe a couple inches of eye relief to make sure that you can position your eye comfortably and not get bumped, even by the minimal recoil of rimfires. But you see so well through a binocular, not only because of the optical quality of a binocular, but also because your eye is not distracted by anything else. Okay. I've been trying to lobby a few manufacturers to make something along those lines, naturally unsuccessfully, but I'm persistent and I will keep at it. And I've been lobbying them to make a lightweight front focal plane scopes. It took some years, but now we have the 4.5 to 22 by 50 Vortex Razor Edge DLHT. So yeah, it's possible. We'll see. And to close up this whole stream of unconsciousness, I am getting more and more focused on Rimfire, partly because it's cheaper to shoot, partly because it seems to be a lot of fun. So for my Tikka T1X, I ordered an XLR chassis, which should be here within the next month or two. I set up an appointment with a Lapua Center in Arizona to go take my rifle there and see what kind of ammo shoots the best with it. I might just buy the whole lot and go shoot with that. And I am deliberating what scope to put on that. That's probably what prompted this whole thing. Right now, the front runner is probably the March 5 to 42 by 56 Highmaster. It is a really, really nice precision scope, nice turrets, tracks well. I like the reticle. I better like the reticle, I designed it. And it focuses down very close. So it's probably going to be one of these, but I don't know. I keep on changing my mind. I have a few options. Right now on my Tikka that sits in original plastic stock, I have the Nexus Element 5 to 20 by 50, and honestly, it's a really nice scope. But once the chassis gets here, maybe I'll just go and put the fanciest scope I've got here. Well, I don't know what's fancy, March or Tangent. A tough call, but I'll put one of them on there. Tangent only goes down to 50 yards, so that may be not ideal. I think I am going to. I'm probably gonna go with one of the Marches. I have a few different ones here, and that's gonna be it. Okay. So that's that. That's the end of the Rimfire spiel. Thank you for sticking with me, and now I'm gonna look at the comments, and we'll see where that goes. All right. Where are we? Okay. Oh, Drew is here. The magazine supplier is slow to ship the copy of your article, so looking forward to reading it. Yeah, they take a little time, unfortunately. Joe, I guess I have to go to locals. You don't have to, but it would be good to see you there. Let's do this, guys. So for anybody listening to this live cast, if you are not currently on locals, if you want to join in, do me a favor. Shoot me an email at swag@darklordofoptics.com. I'll create a discount code. So for a couple of months, you'll be able to comment and everything without paying, and then you can decide if this is a community you want to support or not. It's small still, but it's growing. I like it. It's mine. There's no advertising. Your data doesn't go anywhere. Kind of like the fact that the platform is very particular about this. All of the contact information, everything is only really owned by me. They can't sell it. They can't do anything with it. There is no, like I said, there's no advertising, nothing. Okay. All right. Going back to comments. Drew, I will not answer what you're drinking, as that would be cheating on my behalf. But I do have to say, I did taste it 4 days ago and I got a bottle. Expensive. Yes, it is nice stuff. One of these days, sir, I'll end up in your part of the world. I do go out there once in a while. We'll have a drink together. Springfield Waypoint 2020 Super Rifle or marketing hype? A little bit of both. Look, it's for those who don't know, let me pull this up on the screen. So that everybody knows what we're talking about. There it is. Okay. Where's the specs? I wanted to pull up the specs. Where's the specs? Oh, here's the specs. All right. Let's pull this up. So the Waypoint is a rifle that Springfield is marketing, trying to capitalize on the fact that people are willing to spend money on these things now. Think of it as sort of a reasonably lightweight, accurate rifle. I think mountain hunting, long-range hunting, stuff like that. A 20-inch barrel, carbon fiber stock, some sort of accuracy guarantee, detachable magazine. It's a perfectly modern, lightweight, precision hunting hybrid rifle. There is clearly a market for these, right? For both rifles and rifle scope manufacturers. The Vortex Razor HDL-HT that I keep on talking about as an example, they saw a niche. Niche for that scope is on rifles like this, right? But how good is it? There aren't that many out there. The few I've never used it, right? So the few reports I've seen have been good. The weight, given what the stock looks like and everything, is manageable, right around 7 pounds, although you can go lighter if need be. It is pretty. It's not super expensive, right? About $1,700 MSRP. And here we really come down to the question of, okay. It's a 308 rifle, mostly, right? What other calibers? I'm trying to see what other calibers they got. I think they had a couple that had Creedmoor or something else. Trigger trigger, so it's a nice gun. Okay. I'm going to stop casting this. Here's a basic problem that all of the manufacturers like this face. Why would I buy this rifle over fill in the blank? A comparable Tikka that will be probably just as accurate, cost less money. Stock won't be quite as nice, I think. A few others here and there. Or if I'm gonna go lightweight, just spend a little more money, get something else. So why would I get this over roughly similarly priced SIG Cross that also has a folding stock and kind of AR ergonomics? If you want to pay a little bit more, so I shoot with Q's Fix, I really like. It's more expensive, right? But if I'm buying with this one rifle that I'm going to be using a lot, why would I buy this one? When I look at this gun, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I also don't see anything that particularly makes it stand out in my eyes. And I don't always trust Springfield because they've done a bunch of stupid shit over the years. Would I buy Springfield 1911? Yeah. Springfield M1A? Yeah. Bolt action hunting rifle? Maybe. I don't know. The big question, like I said, is why would I choose this one? And when I go through it, I can neither answer why would I choose it, and I cannot answer why would I not choose it, because there's nothing in it that to me looks particularly outstanding or particularly deficient. So I don't know. I'm sorry that's not much of an answer, but there's a good number of rifles like this and come and go all the time, and I don't know. Mr. Mega Gooch. I shoot my 22 LR20X as much as any other rifle, hence why I put my nice optics on my 22. Started doing that a few years ago. 100% agree. Excellent. So I may be crazy, but I'm not stupid. It's nice to know that somebody else is doing this. I tend to use nice scopes on my rimfires. And even before the ammo crunch, I was shooting 22s a lot. I shoot air guns a lot, have nice scopes on them. Nice PCP air guns. I don't know. Oh, Mr. Northwest Guns is here. Good evening, sir. Robert. Bergara B14R with ZCOM 5-27. Thought it might be crazy, but one of the best decisions I ever made. Couldn't agree more. Zero compromise scopes, all focused down to 25 yards. I've seen quite a few of them on NRL-22 and other high-quality 22 guns. They seem to work exceptionally well. And once again, if this is the gun you're going to end up spending the most time with, put your best optic. If you have one really fancy optic, put it in the gun you shoot the most. I mean, that's sort of the basic gist of this. Mega good. 2.5 to 10 by 32 PST Gen 1 is my favorite lightweight hunting scope. If it had the EBR9 reticle, it would be the dog's bollocks. I agree. I actually really like that scope. I was very disappointed when Vortex discontinued it. They even tried to make a version of it with a tree, the reticle called XLR1, but it was an MOA reticle, and they made it too thin, and the scope didn't sell, and they discontinued the whole thing. Every once in a while, I think that I should just go and start a company just based on the Vortex reject designs, the designs that didn't sell well enough for Vortex, but I know they're good designs, and I know who the OEMs are, so I could just probably go take those and build a company around that. This would be one of them. This is a really nice design. Jared, do you see optics companies in the near future increasing the size of LPVO tubes from 24 to 30 millimeter or larger? I think you mean objectives. The tubes are already larger. Within reason, yes. So I see a few new designs that are bumping up the objectives on the LPVOs up to about 28 millimeters or so, and it doesn't seem to, they're able to do so without exploding the size too much. There's at least one I can think of with a 30 millimeter objective lens. There is so going much bigger is hard. I think I did a video on that quite a while back. So it's why LPVOs have small objectives. You can push it a little bit, but don't anticipate going much bigger than 28, 30 millimeters anytime soon. Nobody has outlawed the laws of physics yet, and that is technically difficult. And if you do achieve that, the performance is not going to be what you think, because you'll start having problems with shallow depth of field. It would be funny to see a Charlie Tarak in front of a traditional rimfire scope. It would, but I'll tell you what. So for quote unquote long range, the guns I shoot the most are my 22 and the 300 blackout pistol, right? The Q minifix that I have. And on the minifix, I usually have, right? And it's a 300 blackout that I shoot subsonic, right? I usually have this March Shorty. This is the 1:8 by 24 scope with a Tarak Alpha. And nobody in their right mind understands why I would want to put so much fancy glass on the freaking subsonic blackout, but works for me. Drew, I just received a Vortex Crossfire red dot from Easio 6 covered. I don't know who Easio 6 covered is. I really like it. Is there anything I can do to loosen the on-off dial? Will it get looser over time? Yeah, these are inexpensive red dot sights. There's all sorts of sample variation. They mostly work just fine. I know quite a few people I know have them and they're happy with them. It will loosen up some with use. So I would cycle it a little bit and see. But if you're gonna try to cycle it, you pull the battery out and just move it around. It should loosen up a little bit, but how much is anybody's guess. Okay. Drew, the shoulder surgery. My arms are not strong anymore, and the dial is really stiff. Well, if you work the dial a little bit, it'll help your post-surgery recovery quite possibly. For all I know, the dial is normal, but my strength is just that pathetically weak. Wet spaghetti noodles. I've seen a lot of variations with that dial, and not just that one, with the most comparatively priced red dot sights. I've seen some that are quite light. I've seen some that are ultra stiff. You work it a little bit, it should loosen up. Have you tried Primary Arms Microprism, which go around thumb, calls, and end of the world optics, which was also his label for their GLX2X ACSS? Yeah, I shouldn't badmouth other people, but Grand Thumb doesn't know shit about optics. But that having been said, I do have the Microprism here somewhere. I don't see it. What is this? This is a Microprism. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Yep, here we go. I do have it. I've run it on my Setme L a good bit, and I have to say I really, really like it. It's really, really forgiving to get behind, which is kind of a big deal. Easily one of the more forgiving prismatics I have seen to date. The reticle is about right, so it has some kind of holdover range. I mean, they're not really holdover; they're more like ranging marks and stuff for a shape roughly human height. I'm mixed on that part of the reticle, but the horseshoe and the chevron work really well. It's fairly quick. It's easy to get behind. Eyepiece adjusts, so I can adjust it. It plays with my astigmatism better than red dots, although I can use red dots pretty comfortably. I like it. To call something end of the world optic when it's a new product is a little bit irresponsible. I'll be honest with you. The one I have, sample of one, is holding up very, very nicely. I know a good number of people who have them. I'm not aware of any problems yet, but I wouldn't call anything end of the world optic until it's been out there for a while. And as a, it's a nice way of saying this. As a matter of general principle, an end of the world optic is the one you have multiple copies of, so that when one breaks in you at the worst possible moment, you have backup. That's end of the world optic. From that standpoint, all these modern prismatics, and I have a bunch of them here, I like them. They're compact, they work well, etc., are really good end of the world optics because they're not that expensive and I can afford to have a bunch, right? So I cannot afford to have 16 tangent thetas. I can have multiple Microprisms, right? So that's kind of that. Mega Gutch. I really dig the Strike Eagle 5-25 as a poor man's optics. Nice glass, acceptable turrets, wide field of view. The Strike Eagle has surprised me with how nice it is. And Vortex will never fess up to it, but I bet these two latest front focal precision scopes they made, 5-25 Strike Eagle and 5-25 Venom, I guess. I bet they are freaking aimed at the rimfire competition market. They do just fine on centerfires and hard-kicking guns and all. They're well-made scopes. I bet that a lot of them are sold to go on precision rimfires. And if you haven't seen the Venom yet, excuse me, I suggest you go take a look. It is broadly similar, doesn't have illumination. The turrets are not locking, so I actually like the turret field in the Venom a little bit more. Field of view is a little bit narrow, but eye relief is actually more forgiving. It's one of the things, when you have really wide field of view, it's hard to make really forgiving eye relief, especially when you're on a budget. The more I use the Venom, the more it grows on me. I'm pretty impressed with both. There have been some problems, but given how many of these are out there, not as many problems, at least from people I've talked to, as I thought I would see. So they seem to be holding up well. JB, good to see you, sir. Okay. Mega Gouch, whichever way you pronounce this. Hanging out for the XTR3 with illumination to replace it if I could afford it. Bill's review on the March 4.5-20x52 was very compelling, like a 4-20 and a 5-25 all in one. Yeah, so March is building a full production version of that scope for me, so I can do a formal review. I've seen a bunch of prototypes. The tree reticle I designed for March, that's in the 5-42 and in the Genesis, I really intended it for this scope, for 4.5-28x52. That's sort of my baby. That's the scope they made almost essentially per my request, right? I was looking at some of their prototypes and I sort of raised the topic, how would you be willing and able to make something like this? And they went and did it. The prototypes of the 4.5-28x52 I've seen were absolutely excellent. And but as a matter of policy, I do not do reviews on prototypes, even if they are essentially production level prototype. So I want a proper production scope to do a formal review. I have high hopes for the design. XTR3 with illumination is coming. How soon is hard to say. A supply chain situation is complicated right now. They are building them, they're working on them. I mean, I've seen one, right? It was good, it was really nice. They did a good job with it. But when production scopes are going to pop up, anybody's guess. If I were to make a guess, I'd say toward the end of the year. It takes time. But I liked what I saw. So generally, there's some. What can I say? What can I not say? So there are good things coming from Burris. So let's just say that. Okay, Drew is talking to JB. JB is talking about Microprism. I looked through it. Illumination is very bright. Night relief is really good. I like the small profile as well. Yes. Just to give you an idea on the size. So here's a Microprism. Oh, there we go. So mounted on this March here, this is a Burris Fastfire 4, and this is the Microprism. It's for a prismatic. This thing is absolutely tiny. And from what I've seen so far, I highly recommend it. And PA has some other new interesting things coming. Drew. Mega Gutch, keep your eye peeled for the older discounted XTR2. Several of those had illumination, my H591 is eliminated. Drew, you're a good dude. I like you. You're not gonna like what I'm about to say. XTR3 runs circles around XTR2 twice on weekends and with its eyes closed. The XTR2 420 by 50 is a perfectly respectable scope. I don't like Horus Radicals 591 included, but it's a perfectly respectable scope, good scope for the time, really, really robust. XTR3 is a serious, serious step up. So if you're in the market for a new scope, if you have the dough, hold out for the XTR3. At least that would be my recommendation. Mega Gotcha. I'm waiting for the XTR3 3-18 elimination as well. Yes, and so am I. Oh, that's interesting. So Derek from Northwest Gun says that Savage is better than the Springfield. Okay. Derek, I don't know if you're in front of the camera, I can send you a link. You can come on and tell me why. I will say this, right? So only new Savage that I shot recently was a straight pull impulse rifle, and I really, really liked it. It was stupid accurate and really nice gun. But I have not shot the Springfield Waypoint, so I don't know. Manitou. They needed to release the Waypoint at a much lower price to get people to try it. I agree. There's just simply no reason for me to buy it over companies who have proven they can do it perfectly. As I sort of implied, for a rifle in this general price performance category, what does it do for me that the Tikka T3X, one of the versions, does not? Because it's inexpensive, it's reliable, it shoots, there's a ton of support, all sorts of aftermarket stuff, and they've been making them for a while. They're not going anywhere. God forbid I need some sort of a support, they're always there. Why would I choose the Waypoint over that? And then there are the Savages, and there's a myriad other options, right? So the way I look at this, right, so I'm either going to go custom or fairly high end, and that's different, and I expect something very, very close to my specifications. And if I'm not going high end, why would I buy this over the Tikka that has proven to be spectacularly consistent and reliable? I don't know. So that's the question to answer about the Waypoint. Edward R. Thoughts on the Zerotech Trace Advanced 4.5 to 27? Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of people bring up this brand. I have never laid eyes on the scope, never heard of it. Let me see. So depending on who the OEM is, sometimes I can look at the scope and kind of get an idea of where it's from and which OEM makes it and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so front focal plane, $1,200, 4.5 to 27 by 50. It looks like it's not illuminated. Some sort of a tree reticle actually looks respectable. I do not know, guys. I have no idea. I have not seen. Oh, I know what this is. So okay, so it's a Chinese scope. Okay, now I know what this is. All right, so I think I know what this is. Let me look at a couple of specs real quick, and I'll tell you. Okay. Yeah, it looks about right. It's likely a perfectly respectable scope. I have not seen one. If you guys know somebody at this company and you can connect me to them, I'd be willing to take a look. I think I know which Chinese OEM makes this, and I will double check. If I were to make a guess, it's likely on the inside more or less same scope as Miopt Optical 6 4.5 27 by 50. Looks broadly similar. Another possibility is it's the same scope as the Athlon RS BTR. They have a model like that as well. I need to look at it a little bit. There are two OEMs that are making those. They're made in different factories. And after we're done here, I'll go look at the specs a little bit more carefully. Maybe I can make an educated guess. If either one of those guesses is correct, it should be a perfectly respectable scope as long as the Zerotech company, wherever they are, never heard of them before, manages to keep QC going reasonably well. Blind spotter. I have a Delta Striker 4.5 to 30, and the only thing I don't like is the long eye relief. It's so long it can be hard to mount on some guns. Correct, yes. They use this on some big kickers, so they built it with fairly long eye relief. For most typical applications, I would have probably liked it with less eye relief. Okay, Mr. Northwest Guns is willing to join us to talk about Waypoint rifles. Let me get my earpiece. And nod if you are willing to and able and ready to come on. Not yet. Okay. So I'll keep going through the comments until Northwest Guns is ready. Jared. US Optics has a huge booth at SHOT Show, next to and 4 times bigger than Armament Engine, and have done a lot of promotion lately. Do they have anything you recommend? Yes, I've looked recently at 3 US Optics scopes. I sort of treated it as a new company. I've talked about FDN 17X, the 3.2 to 17 scope, and about the TS12 that's here. And I just started looking at the fixed 10 power scope, primarily for nostalgic purposes. Where is it? Oh, there. Okay. So here's the FDN 17X that I'm done reviewing. And here is the 10 power. And I'm going to set it up as with an offset red dot, like as a switch power, 1 to 10, almost. I like the turrets. I like the glass. The reticles are intelligent. Let me put this thing back where it's not going to fall. Where is it not going to fall? The reticles are done intelligently. I don't see anything preposterous. I don't know yet how consistent they are, but so far everything I've seen from them has been pretty good. A few people bought them per my recommendation. They're happy. I also have a red dot from a generic Chinese red dot, so that's from a good OEM. A few people who bought Foundation FDN scopes per my recommendation seem to be happy. There was, I think, one guy who had some sort of a problem, and they took care of it, warp speed, at Vortex quality customer support. So I'm cautiously optimistic about US Optics. I think they're doing good things. All right, Derek, you ready? Derek is ready. Gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Northwest Guns.
How's it going, everybody, tonight? Appreciate you letting me come on.
And through on the... There you go. Okay, say something.
Are you good? Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent. All right.
So...
all right, so I'm going to continue going through the comments after Mr. Northwest Guns tells me why Savage is better than Springfield.
So my opinion is why Savage is better than Springfield. Savage has been making rifles for over 60 years. Now,
actually, a lot more than that.
Well, that's why I said over. Now, the Springfield Waypoint is a nice rifle, but I think they price pointed it too high for the average consumer to afford. Now, in my opinion, you could get a nice carbon fiber stock or a nice composite stock, something like this Savage 110 Tactical behind me, and still have at least $1,000 to $1,200 for a nice set of optics to go with it, and have a whole complete rifle over just having the rifle.
So wait a second. How much do you think the Waypoint costs?
The Waypoint cost, last time I checked, was right around starting at the $2,300-$2,400.
So I'm on their website and I'm looking because I just saw a different number. Hold on, I'm looking. Okay, so let's do this. So tell me what configuration. So it's 6.5 Creedmoor?
6.5 Creedmoor with a steel barrel. And I know the carbon fiber barrels are usually about $300-$400 more for that one.
So with carbon fiber barrel, Okay, so there are. I'm looking at 3 rifles. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see.
Okay.
And 1700 with a steel barrel, 23 with carbon fiber. I think their website is not particularly, but it's not for the steel barrel. It's not a $2,300 rifle. It seems.
Okay, so they've come.
So if you look at the left, $1,700 MSRP
Okay.
for steel barrel and 2,300 carbon fiber.
Okay, so they've come down since the launch last year, which is nice, but still, in my opinion, I'd rather have a Savage.
Okay, so all right, fair, that's fair.
Me personally, I've done a lot of custom stuff with Savages. There's a lot of aftermarket support for Savage. You're starting to see more and more stuff like Anarchy Outdoors. There's jarred triggers. That makes a true drop-in trigger now for the Savage, where I know the Springfield is on a 700 platform, and that's nice. Don't get me wrong, but to me, you're more. I look at it this way. Like I said, the Savage 110 Tactical MSRP is $859. So let's say street price is around $775.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that and a nice optic, a nice combination target hunting optic for about the same price as you can the Waypoint.
But the stock, what kind of stock does this Savage come with?
Savage, it's a composite stock with aluminum bedding.
Okay, so it's a reasonable stock. You don't need to mess with it too much. It works.
No, and it actually comes with it's an adjustable comb height, adjustable length of pole. It's not. Okay. It's you have to take it apart to put it on, and it's about. I want to say the rifle's about 7.9 pounds.
Okay, so it's about a pound heavier than the Waypoint. Okay.
Yeah, because you got that aluminum bedding over having the carbon fiber composite.
So, but if you're a guy who doesn't want to putz with it, just wants to buy a gun with already carbon fiber, fairly lightweight stock, etc.,
then it's not a bad idea.
Got it. See, like you feel about Savages, kind of like I feel about Tikkas, right?
Mm-hmm. And Tikkas are great.
Yeah.
They have great action out of the box. I have nothing bad to say about a Tikka. Yeah. I just don't have a lot of experience with them.
I don't have a ton of experience with recent Savages. I used to shoot Savages quite a lot, and they always shot straight. They just fouled fast. The bores were rough, but they shot straight. Then for a little while, their quality control went to shit, and from what I understand, it's gotten a lot better now. So,
very much so. With this 308 that I just got in yesterday, I was doing some overall case length on multiple different projectiles, and I've noticed with this chambering I have on this, it's only 30-40 thousandths bigger than what it is for running a mag length, which is 2.8 inches. And I'm really shocked that Savage is putting such a short chambering in there, and it's a tight chambering too. So I'm hoping it's a good shooter.
Back in the older days, Savage actions were not the straightest, not that sort of stuff, but with a floating bolt head and a barrel that was just drilled straight, I never had a Savage that wasn't a shooter, but they fouled up and started losing accuracy quickly, just because it was rough. But they were always drilled straight. So, but anyhow, that's like I said, that's a viable point. It's what's a nice way of saying this? I'm a tinker. I like to tinker with stuff, right? But on the guns I'm gonna shoot a lot or take hunting with me, I prefer them to be as untinkered as possible, because the stuff I tinker with extensively doesn't always work every time, because I experiment. Like with my ARs, right? I have a ton of ARs. I built a 6 arc AR earlier today, There are 2 ARs that I built, got everything broken in, made sure everything works, and I never mess with them. Here's a funny thing. These are also the ARs I shoot the least, because I like to tinker with stuff, right? But if I wanted to go into battle, I would take one of those. Not my current and latest project.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing with bolt guns, right? So I have a good number of bolt guns, and I have all sorts of projects I'm screwing around with. When I go hunting, I take the fix. There's nothing to tinker with. It came from the factory, damn near perfect. It's got nice barrel. It shoots well.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can do with it is screw it up. That's pretty much it, right? And you got to think that there is a customer out there for a rifle like the Springfield Waypoint. It's not as expensive as the fix and some of the higher end guns, but it is nice to set up, nice to configure. It looks to be a reasonably lightweight gun. So that's probably the target audience for a rifle like that, right?
I would say it is. And it's a person who wants that high end off the shelf hunting rifle, but has everything to it so they don't have to do anything with it.
Exactly.
That was like me. I wanted a 308 with a 20-inch barrel and a bolt gun, and the Savage 110 Tactical fit my build for what I wanted. And I want it for hunting and target shooting because 308 is cheaper to reload than 338 Lapua. And then
imagine that. Just wait until I get. So I'm gonna get a rifle when the barrel is ready. 300 Norma Magnum.
Yeah, you're killing me here because I wanted the 300 Norma Mag.
I'll send you pictures.
I know you will.
Yeah. Detailed ones. In case anybody's wondering, so a company I've been following very, very closely called Hoplite Arms are open to pre-orders, and they made a ton of changes since I last looked at their prototypes. They look really, really promising. I wanted a serious long-range gun, and they're also doing some development of high-pressure cartridges to find interesting. So, okay, we lost Derek for a moment. So I used to shoot 338 Lapua. I kind of gave up on it. I didn't really have the range for it. In New Mexico, I can do real long range again, so I want to try to do 300 Norma.
Well, see, the thing is I built the 338 Ackley improved. So I wanted to get another barrel made, so if I don't want to shoot 338, I can switch it over to Norma. So the only thing I need to get myself now is some brass and a full-length sizing die and a barrel, and I'm good to go.
Little things, yeah.
But I'm also setting the 338 AI up for my wife as a 2-mile rifle. So that's our project over the winter, is to get that set up for her.
Is it like an anniversary gift or something?
It was originally my rifle, and then after we both shot 1.2 miles with the 300 PRC that I built this summer, she goes, I want to go longer and I want to go bigger. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So with me, I'm also in the middle of the 33XE project. Big fan of David Tubb, as you had him on one of your live streams a while back. So I've adopted a 33XE, and I am currently working on that build right now.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool.
So, but the chassis that company makes that you just mentioned are really, really nice. I will say.
Hoplite?
Yes.
Yeah, they're clever guys. So I've known the owner for a little while. He's a good dude. He's a really interesting dude. He's got like a Bulgarian name, but he is from Louisiana. You see the name first, and like you think he'll sound like me. All right, and then you meet him, and he sounds like he's from Louisiana. That's the funniest thing. Yes, a smart guy. Really like him. Smart guy, good sense of humor. Really, really, really understands guns. It's not a common combination of things. Okay. So let's see. Shall we look at a couple of comments?
Sure. I do want to say this real quick while
go for it.
This. I was going to say one company you might want to look into for some Tikka parts or accessories would be Mountain Tactical. They're out of Belgrade, Montana, which is about hour.
What's the name again?
Mountain Tactical.
Mountain Tactical, Belgrade, Montana. Belgrade is not far from where? What's the largest city near there? Because I've heard of the town. I've got a customer there. I need to go there sometime before it gets too cold.
Well, you better tell me when you come up because I'm only an hour away.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like you enough.
Wow.
Okay, their website is called tikkaperformance.com.
I thought it was.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Probably. I haven't been
Yeah.
on his website in a while. I actually just got off the phone with
Yeah,
Ryan
so I'm going to
today.
show you guys on the screen what that is. And then, like I said, I promised to go through the comments, so I should. Hold on.
Yep.
Is this them?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so Mountain Tactical, a ton of Tikka. Oh, they have parts for the. I have a Tikka 695 in 280 Remington. It's a stupid accurate rifle.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, interesting.
280 in general is.
280 is a good round. I put it into Macmillan stock. It's not the lightest rifle I have, but it is silly accurate.
Oh, damn.
I mean, it's as accurate as my Desert Tech was and all those. Anyhow, guys, so Mountain Tactical, I have no experience with these guys. Derek says they're good, so they probably are. Like, despite my general distrust of Derek, he does no guns.
I just talked to the owner today. He's going to be coming on a live stream here probably in the next couple weeks. So they just released some new products on their YouTube channel today. So, and they're sending me one of their bubble levels. So I'm really excited to try that.
Oh, very cool. Well, let me know when they come on. Maybe I'll hop on and ask some complicated questions. I'm good at those. Ooh, there's another one. Check this out. I thought I was the only dumbass shooting 300 black subsonics long range. So I've taken a subsonic blackout to 800 yards.
Jesus.
Not always successfully, but I've hit the plate a few times. So that's why I needed the March 1-8 because it has 50 milliradian of adjustment. I have a custom sloped mount for it, and I needed the Tarak Alpha. You don't know, Derek, if you haven't tried long range subsonic, you don't know what you're missing. It is difficult and really a lot of fun, and you don't need a 3-mile range.
Maybe I should try it with the 308.
I have some subsonic 308 rounds from Discrete Ballistics. At close range, they're really, really accurate. I need to see how well they shoot out. So Q is coming out with this new cartridge called 8.6 Blackout. I already have some dies and some brass and bullets for it. It's basically subsonic 338 bullet.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to be my next long-range subsonic experiment. Once they get the barrels, I'm going to fly over to New Hampshire, build myself another fix with a 12-inch barrel, and use that to shoot far away.
Damn.
It's hard to be me, but I suffer for all of us.
See, where fix is where I grew up.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah, I know.
No, I like New Hampshire. So they are right on the border of New Hampshire and Maine. So it's a nice place.
Yeah. They're in Portsmouth, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I thought. Okay.
Are you aware of any new optics coming out from Delta Optics? I've been wondering what, if anything, they're working on, especially in their Striker line. I like this stuff. Am I aware of any new optics? Yes, I am. Can I talk about them? No, I can't. Sorry, guys. When I can talk about it, I'll tell you. Until I can, I won't. That's why people tell me stuff. I keep my mouth shut. Can we see it closer? I'm not entirely sure. Because I'm going through the comments not in real time, I apologize about that. I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. We're getting close to the end of the comments, so please post what exactly you want to see, and I'll do my best. Joe, I've been playing around with the Savage Axis 2 XP and 284 Winchester Prefit. 284 Winchester is an interesting cartridge. I always liked it. Seems like it is going to be nice when I finish. So, Derek, you're the Savage man. I've never messed with an Axis. Axis to me looks like what? It's like a 110 on a budget. What is Axis?
Well, the Axis action, believe it or not, is actually stronger than the 110 action. The only thing I don't like about the Axis is the bolt lift. It's really heavy. It's got a really heavy bolt lift.
Is it a 60-degree bolt or 90-degree bolt? What is it?
It's a 90-degree, but it's a lot stiffer than a 110.
Why?
I've never been able to figure out why. And I've asked Savage, and no one really wants to answer that question. But it's not that it's a bad action. The axis is more on the budget hunting line sort of things. So, and him putting a 284 on it, that's going to be an interesting build.
I bet. Like I said, back in the olden days, I'm old enough to say that back in the olden days. So I've spent quite a lot of time with the Savage. They had these FFTR type guns with left-hand bolt, but the right-hand stocks and all this sort of stuff. And I had one at 6.5 284. It was a 28-inch tube or something like that. It was a long, thick barrel. That was just another stupid accurate rifle. It was heavy, but it was good. Really, really good.
Okay. I know what one you're talking about, too. Because I was actually looking at, but I was looking at the Norma 6BR version.
You're just a wuss afraid of a little recoil.
Actually,
don't start showing me the U338s. I've seen them.
Where'd it go?
Because you look like a fragile flower and all that.
Oh shit! Any day you want to go shoot long range, buddy, you just tell me, and I'll break out the big boys.
Once I get my Norma Mag, maybe I'll bring that when I come visit. So general disclaimer, I fully expect Derek to be a better shot than I am, and if he's not, he should be ashamed of himself.
I'll admit to this, and my wife is watching in the bedroom. She's a pretty damn good shot. She got that 1.2 mile shot down in one hit. So I'm gonna give her that.
No, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Okay. All right. I will never buy a Chinese scope unless it is endorsed by Joe Biden. For the right amount of money, pretty much anybody from Biden family will endorse pretty much anything. So, and besides, to get it endorsed by Biden, all you have to tell them is that it's powder coated with cocaine, and they'll endorse it just fine. I mean, Hunter will.
Oh yeah.
So. And that's how life kids get killed. But okay. Drew, roger that on XTR2. So this refers, earlier I said that the XTR2 can hold a candle to XTR3. That is correct. But for its time, XTR2 was a good scope. But the market moves on. Paul, suggestions: white curtains behind you so that when you hold up and show us dark scopes optics, we can see them a bit better. Yeah, so what is behind me, I changed the angle of the camera. What's behind me is actually a window. And I wanted it, sometimes I do this during the day, so I needed a dark curtain. I ordered another American flag that I'm just going to hang over there so there's something lighter and a little bit more interesting behind me. And hopefully that will help things. It just isn't here yet. But a used Bushnell Elite Tactical XRS2 for 800, we're really impressed with it. Yeah, for 800 you should be. XRS2 is a really competent scope. I always thought it was a little lower priced where they were selling it, but oftentimes they would run sales discounts and used prices were good. And at those prices, it's a really nice scope. H. Will is suffering. Damn, hold them out a little longer. Man, if you're still here, post what scope you want to see. I will hold them out longer, put a piece of paper behind them so you can see.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to this last comment. Oh, shit.
Oh, fuck me. Okay. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment.
Because my wife was asking about this earlier.
So if she's listening, I apologize for cursing. Whenever IOR Valdada is invoked, it drives me to blasphemy and alcohol. But okay. Burst XTR 3.3 to 18 by 50 versus Delta Striker 4.5 to 30 by 56, 4 PRS. 4 PRS, Delta Striker. They are broadly comparable scopes in terms of overall quality, but this magnification range is better suited for PRS than the smaller XTR3. I bought a Bergara B14 HMR in 300 Win Max. So many issues, can't get it to shoot. My body's Tikka attack, T3X into 60 Remington first load with 140 grain burgers and IMR 4350 sub half minute. So Derek may be able to confirm this. Here's what I heard about Bergara. The way they're built in Spain is that one guy takes that rifle and builds out the whole thing. So depending on which guy was building that particular rifle, it can be really good or really not that great. Most of them, is that accurate?
I was gonna for their premier line, one guy does the whole rifle, and they're built in Georgia.
Okay.
Over in, from what I've been told, over in Spain, it's a production line.
Oh, really? So which one is the HMR? Is it Spain or Georgia?
The HMR is Spain. The HMR Premier is Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The HMR is a great rifle. I've had two of them, both 6.5 and 300 Win Mag, and they've both held 4-inch groups at 1,000 yards.
Oh, that's very good. Well, so I've shot a few Bergaras, and they all function cycled and felt good. And I think I shot out of the 4. I think it was 4. I shot 3 shot great, and 1 couldn't hit the broadside of the barn from inside the barn. I mean, I've seen rusty Middle Eastern AKs shoot better. I always thought it was that just was luck of the draw that barrel was shit. But who knows?
No, I have seen some HMRs get shit barrels on them, and that's the one thing with Bergara I do have respect for is they guarantee you sub MOA out of the box. And there was some when I was working in the retail field that they weren't getting sub MOA, and they were all over the paper. So I told them, hey, get a hold of Bergara. They'll warranty out the barrel, box it up, send it back to them. They'll put a new barrel on it. Yeah. And they did. 3-4 weeks later, they come back, they take the rifle out, and the thing is shooting 1/2-inch groups all day long.
Okay. Well, then the question to Mr. Moreno, have you talked to Bergara yet that your rifle is not functioning? So I'm really curious. So one of the things, and I'm really curious, guys, if you have had a chance to use a customer support for any of the gun or optics companies that you deal with, please tell me what your experience was. I no longer, with some exceptions, have a particularly good feel for what customer support is like, because unless I use somebody else's name, when I reach out to a company to get some customer support, it is always exceptional. Usually because there's always somebody in there who knows who I am and that I have a big mouth. I'm really curious how these companies support people if they don't know who you are. Okay. So tell me, reach out to them. Let me know what you think.
Oh, my wife did have a comment for you. She said, "There's nothing in this world that can offend her. She's been married to me for over 10 years and dealt with my shit every day."
So, for your wife, I don't know if she can hear me or not because there are headphones and all that. Oh, if she can hear me, 1, that sounds like a challenge. B, I always rise to a challenge. 3, as far as being offensive goes, you are both of you and your wife, who I've never met, you're both rank amateurs. Take my word for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I grew up in a place that managed to offend the whole world and collapse before they got their asses kicked.
Oh, shit.
Anyhow, what are your thoughts on the Burst XTR3? So XTR3 Midwest Long Range, isn't that the guy? He has a nice YouTube channel, right?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Yes, that's Chad.
Chad, right? Yeah, I thought I've heard the name.
Yes, he just came into our Discord group. No, sorry.
Oh, Chris. That's right. That's where I've seen it. Yeah, I have a mental note to go look at I have a mental note to go look at your videos, but it's been a little crazy. I think I saw 1 or 2, and I thought they were nicely done. I need to look at a few more. XTR3 is a really nice scope. The basic problem with XTR3 is that the reticle is very thin, and Chris, his name's Chris. sorry. The reticle is very thin, and on low power, it kind of gets hard to see. So they have an illuminated version coming out shortly. For the Mani XTR3 is one of my favorite designs, but I have not done a full review specifically because I want reticle illumination. So the moment I have that, I'm going to do a full-blown review. This is where you say cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. All right. So, Chris, I will try. I'm awful with names. I will try to remember.
I am too. Really good guy.
Okay. Doug took the new 4.5 to 22x50 Vortex out last week and tried it out in the cross and get thunder range. Impressive for the money. Thank you. I'm glad you think so. I love that scope. Like I said, so outside of Vortex, I have had more hands-on time with that scope than anybody else in this world. And I liked it enough that I actually ordered one and paid money for it, right? Various quote-unquote gun tubers, influencers, you name it, never admit to this. It's been a very, very long time since I actually paid for an optic. Like, there is a ton of scope. I have probably 60 grand, maybe more. Yeah, maybe more worth of scopes within this office. And I did not pay for any of them, right? So it's very easy for me to use nice scopes and all that sort of stuff, right? I actually went and bought, I have one, I've got second coming, and I've got third one on order. That's how much I like that scope. Because if you want a lightweight front focal plane with good depth of field, there's nothing else like it. So, but I'm glad you like it. All right, we've got another smartass. Don't get me wrong, your warm flesh tone looks fabulous against that dark background. Just can't make out the scopes too well. Well, are you here to look at scopes or at me? For God's sake. No, I'll fix the background. That's a nice dog. I was talking about your dog, Derek. What walked by right behind you? Okay, thoughts on IOR Valdada scopes. It's been covered ad nauseum, so I'm going to be brief. I've seen too many reliability problems with them, and the guy who imports them into the US is not exactly my favorite guy in the world. So I basically ignore them. I review stuff and I make recommendations based on my experience with it. I cannot review 10, 20 samples to really get an idea of how consistent something is. I look at one sample and move on. If I do not have faith in the consistency of the manufacturer, I cannot make recommendations. And I have no faith in the consistency of IOR. I used to review IOR scopes a while back, and it's interesting. Every time I got a scope directly from IOR, it was perfect. And every time I procured an IOR scope through normal sales channels, something fell apart. So basically, I stopped using them. They may have improved since then, may haven't. It's the same guy importing them. I won't touch one with a 10-foot pole. That's basically it. See, I managed to do this without offending everyone other than IOR and the importer and God knows who else. And the gentleman who is asking this, he's, I think, originally from Romania. So, okay. Trying to decide on a rifle at 7mm Remington Magnum, semi-custom factory Tikka T3X rebarreled, or custom action. Ooh, that's a tough call. What do you think?
Depends on your budget. It really depends on what you want to spend. That is a hard one because a Tikka and a 7mm would be a nice setup, but also having a custom 7mm would be nice too. So that's a hard question.
I know. So my semi-standard. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know what I would do is I would do it too. For me, my next 7mm will be a 280 Ackley improved instead of a 7mm. Nothing against 7mm. I'm a big 7mm guy. I shoot a lever action 7mm for hunting. I mean, knowing that Tikka actions are actually really nice out of the box, and I guess consult a gunsmith that's going to be doing the work for you, and ask him what's going to be the better cost effective thing to go with.
So here's a question you should answer for yourself when you're thinking about this. Because when you say custom action, there are a lot of custom actions out there, right? So what does that custom action give you that a Tikka action does not? Because if you're rebarreling a gun, whether it's custom action or Tikka, I assume you're going to get a nice barrel of the same quality, right? So let's say the barrel is the same. What does the custom action get you that is not good enough, or you do not get in Tikka? If the answer is bragging rights, go with the custom action. It'll work well, it'll be beautiful, it'll be unique. Go for it, right? If bragging rights are not in question, what do you get out of that custom action? Different magazine, different what? Something that Tikka does not. If you cannot answer that question, save your money and get a Tikka. If you can, if there is indeed something you get from that action, then go for that.
I can think of one thing you would get out of a custom 700 style action that you wouldn't get over a Tikka is trigger options.
But yeah,
there's not a lot of aftermarket trigger options.
Yeah, but there are at least but there are a few Tikka triggers out there.
There is a couple, but if that's one of the biggest ones, I guess. Depending on what bolt throw you want, a 60 degree, 70 degree, 90 degree, spring trigger, firing pin spring weight. See, that's kind of hard for me to answer because I have custom actions and then I have Savage. So, and I built custom rifles off of Savage actions. So, I really should get a Tikka.
Yes, you should. So I just convinced a couple of guys who I'm about to take peak hunting later this month to get Tikkas, and I've shot a good number of them. And I am biased because my Twitter, so I bought this Tikka 695 for $500, proved to be fairly accurate, and I've bolt stock, lightish weight barrel and all that, and I've outshot a bunch of custom guns with that thing. Now mine seems to be unusually accurate, but I've never seen, I'm sure they exist, but I've never seen a Tikka that doesn't shoot. And it's not just the barrels. They're nice, smooth actions, they work well. So I don't know. Like I said, it's unless you can call out something specific you want out of the custom action, I would just lean toward the Tikka, right? Maybe you want a specific trigger, like Derek said, so that would be a good option, right? So then go custom one of the 700 clones.
Or stock.
Or particular stock, although there are a good number of stocks for Tikka.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, so I'm not big on the very high-end conventional actions, right? So for me, the fix was attractive because I like the ergonomics, I like the AR style ergonomics folding stock. That's not a conventional action. I'm interested in the hoplite rifle because it's really not a conventional action. They're doing some very clever things they haven't released yet that I like. A purely conventional 700 clone action, they're amazing, they shoot well and all that, they hold no allure for me. I don't get what the big deal is. I just don't. And partly because, like I said, when I try to answer this question, what does it do for me then, let's say Tikka or custom Savage or whatever, I can't always answer. With some of them I kind of can, there are some things, but by and large I can't answer that question.
If you're going for a competition rifle, the custom action is a better choice, especially the Kelbley Atlas. Just in case,
there is the Kelbley Atlas. There are the Curtis actions. Curtis Factor is an amazing action. There are several.
If you're going to use it for a hunting rifle purpose, it's hard to say what one to go with. If you're going with a competition rifle,
Okay, it's a 7mm Remington Magnum. It's not a competition rifle.
No. Well, actually, there was a kid last year that competed with a 7mm at the Badlands. So
Okay,
it can be, but
it
no,
can
normally,
be, but it's not.
Normally, you're right. It is a hunting cartridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to lean towards the Tikka. I'm going to go with you on this one.
All right, we've got a convert. All right, Joe. I think the back of the bolt. So I think he's talking about Savage Axis. I think the back of the bolt might make it stiff. I put a Glades bolt sleeve and handle on mine. Plus played with the baffle thickness. Now the lift is pretty nice. There you go. So you have a positive experience.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind next time you have one.
Mm-hmm.
I might put on a lift kit mini thrust bearing, but I'm saving that for later. You like me. You like messing with stuff.
See,
it's
I have that.
Not always healthy.
I have that mini thrust bearing kit in my 300 PRC.
Okay.
So it does work.
I have no idea what that is.
I'll send you a picture later.
Okay. I'm curious. So Drew crashed out and came back. You're a trooper, my friend. Oh, there we go. So this is interesting. So this is a gentleman with a Bergara that's not shooting. Front action screw fell out while I was... Okay. I sent them an email. They just told me the torque specs. I took it apart, polished the bedding, and rebuilt it to spec. I have been doing load development, trying to get it to shoot with 225 ELDM. I figured maybe it's the projectile, but had no luck with anything from 180 to 235. Yeah, it sounds like Bergara should be looking at that rifle.
Yeah. Oh,
there's more here.
I wonder if he got one of the very first 300 mag Bergaras, because they actually messed up with the barrel twist on that, and they put a 1-11 twist instead of a 1-10. And they did the same thing.
But he said the stuff down to 185 grain didn't shoot. 185 will shoot just fine in 111.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is if he's shooting 225s instead of a 111, it's not going to shoot.
Correct, but he said he tried down to 185 grains.
Yeah, but
they
did the same thing with the 300 PRC. They put a 1-10 instead of a 1-9. So I would definitely, I'd be getting a hold of Bergara real quick.
Yeah. Okay, so I tried differentiating that. Powders, primers, brass, nothing. 2.5 MOA. Yeah, send it back to Bergara, make him fix it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jared. How a 1500 Tikka T3X Bergara or another production rifle base for a precision build? Look, I mean, I think one of the things that has become clear during this live cast is that I am very fond of Tikkas, but I will also say that any of these, if you do the build correctly, will work fine, right? I mean, since I started doing this, the overall quality of even factory rifles, the quality of the actions and everything has improved dramatically, right?
Yes.
It's the biggest strength of the Tikka is that the actions are good and the barrels are consistent. You can go buy Tikka T3X A1 and there's your precision build. Just go and shoot. So when you say precision build, what do you mean? Are you planning just to take an action and then build a gun around it? Or are you looking for a way to get into a real precision shooting without spending a ton of time and effort and money on it, right? So these are the two different things. Bergaras made their reputation by making the semi-custom higher-end rifles that you're not supposed to be messing with too much, right? Mm-hmm. HOA is an action, right? So that's different. Buy an action and go do that. Like I'm not a major HOA fan. They make perfectly reasonable guns, perfectly reasonable actions. I don't like the US importer, but I've seen a good number of HOAs. They're good guns. It's as far as out-of-the-box accuracy, on average, it's not a Tikka. I think Tikkas are better guns. But the HOA action is good. So if you want to do custom barrel and everything, HOA is a good start. If you don't want to putz around with it, Tikka Bergara is good. Is it making sense?
Yeah. I'll give my 2 cents on this one. I agree. Bergara makes a great gun out of the box, and the HMR was designed to be in the production class for PRS and NRL. And you can build onto it because it is a 700 platform action. The other one I'm going to say is Savage made a line of Precision Series rifles. They have the Axis Precision, the 110 Precision, and the 110 Elite Precision. And back there in that gray case over there in the corner, you see I have a 110 Precision and a 6.5 Creedmoor. That is my backup rifle, which will be my son's primary rifle next year. That gun, for a $1,400 off-the-shelf gun, shoots lights out from 0 to 1,000 yards all day long. And that's with the Accu trigger. And you can either go get a jarred trigger like I did for that one, and shoot a 14-ounce trigger, or replace the spring in it with the Accu trigger target spring and drop it down to just a little over a pound and use the Accu trigger, which is a really nice trigger out of the box, in my opinion, because you can set it up and run it like a 2-stage or a 1-stage if you tune it right. So I always ask everybody what your budget is and try to stay within your budget, because Bergara has the HMRs are start off at about 950 to 1,000, and then Savage is starting off at 1,000 with the Access. If you really want to go all out, get the Elite Precision, and you're running at about $2,000, but you got an MDT ACC chassis. That chassis alone is $1,200-$1,300. So when you think about the blueprinted action you're getting, the tuned Accu trigger, the heavy contoured barrel, and a self-timing brake, you really can't beat the price.
That's fair. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. I have a few words about this. So Janice here. I think he meant buying factory rifle and shoot out the barrel that start the build. To shoot out, well, so a lot depends on the caliber, obviously, right? But competition shooters practices shoot so much, they really shoot barrels out. For most normal people, it takes a long time to shoot out the barrel.
Yeah. Sponsored shooters usually go through 3 barrels a season, maybe 4.
Correct, but they also not exactly shooting 308, so the caliber here did not exactly come up. So, I mean, I'm close to shooting out a 308 barrel in my fix, which should tell you how much I shoot, but I'm legitimately close to it, and it's a nice proof research barrel. It takes a lot of work to shoot out a barrel. If you want to build a custom, build a custom. If you are buying a factory rifle to shoot, buy a factory rifle that will shoot best. Regardless of the platform you've got, you can always spin on a nice barrel when you need a new one. That really makes no difference. You can go to a gunsmith and he'll spin up a barrel for Tikka, for Bergara, for Hoa, for CZ, you name it. It's all doable. Okay. Oh, that's a question for you, Jared. If 6-Dasher is such a great round, why aren't there any manufacturers making it in regular production?
That's a really good question. And honestly, I don't have an answer for that one, because there's a lot of good 6mm rounds out that competition shooters are using. 6BR Norma, the 6-Dasher, the 6GT, which is what I personally use. There's another one I can't think of; it's on the tip of my tongue. But that's actually a really good question.
So let's, before I offer a few cents on that, so what makes 6-Dasher such a great round?
Low recoil, you get good velocity out of it. It shoots to 105, anything from, I want to say, 80 grains up to 105 accurately. from what I've seen.
So basically, you just described an average competition shooter who builds custom guns and reloads anyway.
Yeah.
So if somebody made a production rifle for it, the competition shooter won't buy it, and everybody else won't care. It's not a great hunting round. I mean, if you want to shoot it, if you want to shoot out of an AR, like a lot of people do, they should be doing 6 arc. That's what I just built. What is 6 dasher that good for? Competition guys like it because it doesn't burn the barrels out as fast as 6 Creedmoor and stuff like that. That's basically its big claim to fame. But you have to keep in mind, for PRS and RL, for the race gun series, here's what they want. They want long barrel life, they want low recoil, and they want the bullet to hit the metal plate just hard enough for you to be able, whoever's watching, to be able to recognize that there was a hit. So you can't go too wimpy because then you won't know that you hit it and might not be fast enough, right? And you don't want to go higher because it's going to burn barrel faster, kick you a little more at that. It will help you with wind. So you are basically looking for a compromise between wind and everything else. It's a very small number of shooters who really need that compromise. If somebody makes a normal production rifle and 6 dasher, it won't sell. I'll be surprised that it won't sell, if it will sell. Exactly. So that's what Joe's saying. 6x47, 6 Creed, all great rounds. They burn barrels out faster than dasher or 6. Well, 6 GT I think is pretty close to 6x47, right?
No, 6 GT is actually just slightly. It's about 150 thousandths larger than the dasher.
Okay, so which one of that? That 6XC is close to 6x47.
Yes.
Okay, that one is. Sorry, that's David Tubbs cartridge.
See, the GT was the answer to the dasher with the feeding problem issue.
Oh, okay. 6 dasher has high velocity but lower barrel life than 6 arc. Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
6 arc can be also is smaller. 6 arc was designed to work. 6 arc was designed to work out of an AR-15 action. So to me, for example, 6 arc in a bolt action holds 0 interest, and a lot of people are interested. They can push them a little bit harder in a bolt action, get great barrel life, and it's a nice round. I like it as an SPR type AR-15 round. So.
I was gonna say, if you want more information on like an arc and a bolt gun, go look at Eagle Eye Shooting. He does PRS with a 6 arc and a Savage Action bolt gun, and he's gotten over 4,500 rounds out of that barrel so far.
That's really good. Yeah, I just built myself a 6 arc upper on the Schillen barrel, so I'm gonna go mess with it a little bit. All right, have you shot the Barrett MRAD? Yes, but not enough. It's a nice gun. Barrett makes nice guns. Not enough to form any sort of opinions. Derek?
Have not.
Okay. Or thoughts on the RPR? Okay, well, that's a little bit of apples and oranges. A lot of thoughts on the RPR. I've shot that a good bit. I think it's a good budget precision gun, although it looks like they're stepping up a little bit with some of the latest stuff that's been going a little bit higher end. There's nothing wrong with an RPR. For the money, it's a good gun. And it's easy to work on and modify and do other things. It's a good first step into the precision adjustable stock chassis guns. I know a ton of people who start out with RPRs and within a year or two move on to something better.
The RPR is not. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So the RPR is not a bad rifle. The Gen 1s, in my opinion, were junk. They had barrel nut problems and handguard problems with them. Yep. So if you have a Gen 1, I completely recommend getting rid of the handguard. Other than that, the barrels weren't bad. They shot nicely. I have a couple friends who have them. They bring them out, and we do some practice long range and PRS with them. So they're not bad.
Oh, that's another interesting. So Drew Drew has a Gen 1.
Well, every Gen 1 I've shot, for some reason, has so much play in that handguard. Like, you can move it around. And that just drives me nuts. And there was a video, and I can't remember who did the video now, that he took the handguard and just spun it off. So...
yeah, have you seen the Labayev DXL5? They claim some crazy range in this. Yeah, I've seen press releases, but I'll believe it when I see it. Labayev has a new Russian gun. They claim some psychotic range, longest range military sniper rifle, something or other. I've seen some tidbits, but I haven't looked into it carefully. I don't trust Russians.
Oh my god.
Drew, operator error or loose knot behind the controls. Yeah, that's very common. My favorite story about loose knot behind the controls, Derek, you've heard this one. So I lived in Los Angeles for a very long time. And at the range where I used to shoot, there's it's a bunch of people with disposable income, right? And this is going to sound racist. There would be always some overweight IT guy with a really, really fancy rifle who spends most of his time behind the computer, has no idea how to shoot any of the stuff, but he wanted to buy the best, right? So one time I'm out shooting one of my old mil surplus Mosin Nagans. It happens to be the rifle that won the 300-meter military competition in Switzerland, but it looks just like an old gun. Dual aperture iron sights and all that sort of stuff. So I'm out shooting, that's how I used to do my sling shooting practice with the iron sights, just for shits and giggles. And yeah, if you guys curious what it is, it's Mosin Model 2876. I wrote an article for the Retro magazine on that last year. Should be out somewhere. But anyhow, a guy sets up next to me on an adjacent bench. I'm shooting prone. He's sitting at the bench with an Accuracy International and a Schmidt & Bender scope. And he's all excited, and he, does very little shooting, lots of talking, walks up and down the range, striking up conversation, steering it to how amazing his new rifle is and all that. And did some shooting finally. Then we went over to look at targets, right? And Hika was kind of looking down on my old Mosin Nagant. And then we go look at targets. And I thought he was just going to have a stroke right there. And here's the fun part. I'm not a very good shot. But loose knot behind the controls far more common than we think. Joe, imagine ranges near Silicon Valley. Yeah, probably the same thing. Same nonsense. Same California nonsense. All right, Joe's out. Jared is out. Good night. Thanks for another live guest. Good to see you, Jared. Thank you for chiming in. Really appreciate it. Thanks, sir. All right. We are getting close to a couple hours. So I am at about 2 hours or so. It's going to be 11 here. And I need to sleep once in a while. Yep. So I'm going to start wrapping this up.
Okay.
If you guys have any other...
Mm-hmm. I'm going to dodge out, let you do your wrap up.
Excellent. So, Derek, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it.
And everybody, thank you for all the questions tonight. I really enjoyed it. And I will talk to you guys later.
All right. Good night, sir.
Good night.
All right. We lost Derek. But that's okay. He will be back. They always come back. Always an interesting discussion when we go into guns. Always an interesting discussion. I don't shoot standard. I don't shoot standard centerfires as much as I used to. I shoot my 308 fix a lot. It's a rifle I hunt with, so I practice with it. And I am about to start shooting muzzleloader quite a bit. I have a muzzleloader elk hunt. Later this month. Like I said, I'm going to go on a pig hunt, take a bunch of new people with me. Sort of my contribution to the Second Amendment. try to introduce people to shooting and hunting, although I am somewhat new to hunting myself. I have the means and the ability to make it possible for people, and I do. And if we want this sport, this hobby of ours to persist, we really should all do what we can. But when left on my own devices, I gotta say I shoot rimfires a whole lot, and I shoot nice air guns a lot at reasonable ranges. One of the things that I found is that as I get older and more busy, I have a day job and a side job and another side job and a bunch of other things. It's uncommon for me to go and spend the whole day at the range. But I live in New Mexico. There's no traffic here. Sneaking out for 3 hours is not very hard. What can I do in 3 hours? Well, one thing I cannot do in 3 hours, I cannot find a range where I have a mile or 2 miles to shoot. That requires more planning, longer drive, stuff like that. I do live in a city. So I started shooting rimfires and subsonics because I can get really good long-range practice without needing a very long, very long range. Hence the emphasis on stuff with a lot of drop, a lot of wind drift, things that are just difficult to shoot. That is very good practice when you do go out into a truly long range. I don't know where you guys live, if it's easy for you to shoot truly long range, more power to you. But A, it is expensive, and B, for me, it's not as simple. So you'll see me talk about rimfires quite a lot when my T1X build is finally done. I'll talk more about that, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, Joe. I'll be 7 miles to 2 miles shoot soon. Oh yeah, you moved to another state. Yeah, I'll come visit. Mr. Morano, what is the advantage of 338 subs versus 300 blackout subs with something like 220 LDX with high BC? You can still do high BC with 338 with very long bullets and just have less wind drift. That's pretty much that. Another thing that I need to look into a little bit is so this 8.6 blackout that's coming out. The barrel is going to be 1 in 3 twist. It does a few interesting things. It's primarily there for hunting. It allows you to dump a little bit more energy into the bullet, but it also does some interesting things to bullet stabilization for very heavy weights further downrange. So it is potentially more interesting. There's still a ton of drop, but wind and stability should be better. I won't know until I spend some more time with it. I have a 9-inch 300 blackout with 1 and 5 twist to shoot subs. Yeah, so I shoot subs, also 1 and 5 twist barrel, but it's a 7-inch barrel. And one of the things that I get a kick out of, my whole long range setup fits in a small bag like this: ammo, tripod, bipod, support bag, everything. It takes me very little time and effort to go and get good long range practice. One in 3 is crazy, yes, and it's really, really cool. I'm gonna sometime this year I'm gonna have that rifle. I'll talk about it extensively. Do you suppose corrective eye surgery will rectify the red dot double and triple vision issue I see without eyeglasses worn? It depends on the surgery. You see these odd effects primarily because of astigmatism. So talk to the doctor and see how well they can correct it. It's possible to correct to a reasonable degree. So quite possibly, yes, but this is where you need to talk to the doctor. Depends on what surgery they do. Okay. All right. I am going to, so in case nobody was guessing, So maybe I should stop with this whole business of guess the booze, but Mr. Drew Bradley was correct. It's a very nice Papa's rum. Mr. Morano, I get way less astigmatism with EOTech than with the red dot. Yes, that is generally correct. So EOTech and Vortex UH1 are holographic sites that work completely differently from red dot sites, and they play better with astigmatism. They're not completely immune to it. There are different types of astigmatism in your eyes, and with some of them, holographics also don't look great. And if none of those work real well for you, I'll put it up against my forehead so it's just shiny. The Microprism from Primary Arms is a really good bet. It's tiny and it works really well. I really recommend it. Okay. Drew, thank you for joining. Really, really appreciate it. Mr. Morano, I don't think I've seen you here before. Maybe you are new to my channel. I do appreciate you here, sticking around for the entire 2 hours. Nice questions. I really do like this. This is the format I enjoy the most. I like the interaction. I like to do my speech in the beginning, something I've been thinking about, and then go into a Q&A. And that goes wherever it goes. Drew, I would suggest you guys try some of Papa's. It is soft and smooth. Let me show you the bottle. It's here somewhere. Hold on. Oh, there it is. So it's called, there you go, Papa's Pilar. This particular one is called the Marquesas blend. It's a dark rum that I really enjoy. But almost everything from Papa's has been consistently good that I have tried. Okay. All right, we're just about at 2 hours. With that, I bid you all good night. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Comment under this video or stop by my website at darklordofoptics.com. Good night.